Hi everyone, welcome to today's video. My name's Stephanie and today I'm going to be showing you Fauve's latest collection called Reflections of Monet. As you probably know, Fauve is a small indie brand and their collections are focused on specific artists or art styles or art movements, and she operates on a pre-order as well. The window is actually currently open for these until Wednesday the 18th. I do also have some really important shop updates for Fauve, but I will save that for the end of the video after some comparisons. For now, let me just show you the swatches. Jess was kind enough to send me a couple of her base coats. The first one here is the Tinted Gesso base coat, which is just their pink tinted, ridge filling, sort of smoothing base. So here's how it looks in one coat. Super smooth and even, very beautiful, but not what I'm going to be using in this video. Since there are a lot of flaky balm polishes, I'm mainly going to be using the Temporary Canvas Peel Off base coat. I found this had a really nice formula, not super runny or watery, and it dried down pretty fast and a little tacky. I do also want to note that both of these base coats did have a noticeable smell compared to other ones I've tried. Starting with the magnetic polishes, the first one we have is Dusklit Water, which is described as having a purple jelly base, a teal to purple color shifting magnetic shimmer, blue to violet to purple color shifting flakies, violet hollow micro shreds, denim blue and pink hollow flakes, and purple reflective glitter. So while it sounds like a mouthful, I would say overall it doesn't look incredibly busy. Like there's a nice distribution of the little flakies and shreds in there in the background that you can see, but overall it just looks like a magnetic with some flakies in the back. As you saw, the formula on this was pretty nice. It was just a bit sheer on the first coat, more on the jelly leaning side, and I personally don't love seeing a lot of visible nail line with magnetic specifically, so I ended up doing a third coat which made it a lot more opaque looking. It just intensified and deepened the base color, which looks so beautiful, especially in contrast to the magnetic shimmer and all those iridescent flakies. But for the unmagnetized and velvet swatches, I did just the two coats and I could barely see my visible nail line. And the other magnetic in the collection is called Sunset Reflections, which is described as an ultramarine base with a violet to red to orange to green shifting magnetic shimmer, violet to blue aurora shimmer, violet blue iridescent flakes, and a pink to violet shifting aurora shimmer. And I would say this had a really similar formula to the last polish. As you can see, it was nice and easy to work with, just sheer on the first coat, a bit on the jelly leaning side. I think it did build up a little bit better in two coats because it is a slightly darker base color compared to the previous shade, but I did just prefer doing a third coat to make it a little bit more full coverage. When it comes to magnetics, I just prefer the cat eye effect having a lot stronger contrast, usually a more opaque kind of finish, so I found that the third coat really helped with that for these two shades specifically. And yeah, this one also had a beautiful and strong color shifting multi-chrome magnetic, and I just really loved those glowy blue iridescent flakies. I feel like those stand out the most compared to the other sort of background elements, probably because they're larger. Now, getting into the flakies, the first one we have is Blue Nympheas, which is described as a teal jelly base with teal to purple color shifting flakes, violet to pink to orange iridescent flakes, sage and pink hollow flakes, and blue reflective glitter. So apologies, I completely forgot about the reflective glitter aspect to some of these shades, so I don't have any pictures of these or video under flash. But that being said, this was still an incredibly sparkly polish as expected because it is just jam-packed with so many of those color shifting flakies. The formula overall was really nice and easy to work with, but because it is a jelly base, it is going to be a bit sheer and show some visible nail line, but I found it really full coverage and near opaque in three coats. And I'm going to be topping all of these flakies with a glitter smoothing top coat from Fauve because naturally these are going to dry down a little bit textured due to all of the flakies and again the reflective glitter. A regular top coat can usually just be sucked in by all of those glitters, but a glitter smoothing one helps bring back that plump look. Then we have Lotus Petals, which is described as a bubblegum pink jelly base filled with aqua to blue to violet to lime to gold iridescent flakes, blue to violet micro iridescent flakes, silver hollow, and a pink and aqua reflective glitter. You already know I was so excited about this one, and even though this is also described as being a jelly base and obviously a much lighter color compared to the first shade, I found that this one was slightly more pigmented, almost in that jelly crelly leaning family. So I personally thought the 2 coats alone obscured a lot of my visible nail line. It is possible that I did thicker coats because I usually am heavy-handed, so you might need a third. Then we have Water Garden, which is described as a mossy green jelly base filled with aqua to blue iridescent flakes, violet to pink to orange iridescent flakes, blue to violet iridescent flakes, sage and denim blue hollow flakes, blue, purple, and pink reflective glitter, and a baby blue hollow. So again, absolutely packed with so many different color shifting flakies, which just create this beautiful mosaic kaleidoscope effect. But the formula was still really easy to work with. It can be a little finicky, I guess, because there are so many flakies, so you might need to dab around in some spots. But I really loved how this built up in just the 2 coats alone for a slightly sheer jelly look. I found that this one was most similar to Blue Nympheas, the first shade, where it was a little bit more sheer, so I also did a 3rd coat to make it more fully opaque. And the last flaky bomb we have is Twilight Blooms, which is described as a purple jelly base filled with a teal to purple and blue to violet to purple color shifting flakes, violet hollow micro shreds, denim blue and pink hollow flakes, and a purple reflective glitter. This pretty much had the same formula as the 2 greens in my opinion, where it was a little bit more on that glassy jelly side, so it is a bit sheer on that first coat, but because this was a bit darker, I found it more easily opaque, especially on my pinky, which is such a small nail. So again, you might need a 3rd for this one. So here is the skittle of the Flaky Bomb polishes worn in their 2 to 3 coats with the glitter smoothing top coat and a regular glossy top coat on top of that. I was actually using the quick dry top coat from Fauve, so it was a nice combo to get that super glassy plump finish, especially for all of these flakies, which again dried down a bit textured, or more specifically due to the reflective glitters in them. So it is a shame that I didn't get a clip under flash, but you can still see just how sparkly these are. And like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, I did use the peel off base coat underneath all of these, but because I am just filming so quickly for my swatches and I happen to do so many layers of polishes, like most of these have 3 coats of just the polish alone plus 2 coats of top coat, not everything dried down fully, so I didn't have the smoothest peel off experience. I definitely had it the best with my pointer finger, as you can see, but it was still a little rough to get that initial peel off. And unfortunately for the rest of my nails, they were still a little gummy again because they didn't dry it down fully. So not the smoothest peel off experience by any means, but you know, take this with a grain of salt. Obviously, this is not really a full review on the product because I couldn't wear it for a long enough time to have everything dry down. So I definitely do need to try this again, but yeah, I just wanted to show you how it looked after my quick swatch session. And the last polish we have was actually a group custom polish submitted by a follower on their subreddit for the polish of the month. So for all my Reddit lacaristas out there, if you love Fauve, make sure to follow their subreddit. I'll have that linked below. But this one is called Pointillism, and it's a clear base filled with a variety of aqua, blue, purple, pink, and green matte glitters in various sizes, as well as an orange to gold to green reflective glitter and a dainty hollow. All in a clear base, so technically this can work as a topper, which I will be showing over white and black in a moment, but as you can tell from that first coat alone, it is incredibly densely packed with all those glitters, so I figured I could just try to build it up on its own, and it had really great coverage on the 2 coats. I had some bald spots here and there, but doing 3 coats makes it almost fully opaque, and you can see there are a couple of super large sized glitters in here as well. And here it is over white and black in just 1 coat with the glitter smoothing top coat. I thought it just looked so fun. I love this color mix. Moving into comparisons, I wanted to start with Tinted Gesso and look at it next to some other pink base coats that I have. So on the left is Mooncat's Nail Primer, which is pretty much the same as Holotaco's Pink Smoothing Base, Cirque's Ridge Filler, etc. And on the right, I have Polish for Days Cotton Candy Soft Focus Base Coat, which is their blurring base. So that one is a little bit more opaque. So hopefully you can see that the Fauve is pretty much a dupe for the Mooncat and the others. Next, for Dusklit Water, I was first reminded of Mist Over the Thames, which is another purple base with a aqua blue sort of magnetic shimmer, but as you can see, the purple base is much softer, more muted in color. And I don't know if it's just me, but I feel like the magnetic is a little softer as well. It could just be the lower contrast, but it just doesn't look as crisp. For some reason, I thought Dusklit Water looked a little similar to Mooncat's Lust for Vengeance, even though that isn't a magnetic. I just thought the purpley sort of base and the vibrant contrasting shimmer was the same, but obviously you can see the Mooncat shimmer is green. So for a purple base with a blue magnetic, I also pulled out Cracked Polish's No Reservations from their Valentine's Day collection this year. Between these two, the Cracked is closer, but it does have a different look to it overall, where the blue shimmer is more in the background of the Cracked, while the magnetic is the soft pink color and the magnetic in Fauve is that brighter aqua. But it does have those bright blue cobalt kind of iridescent flakies, so you can see where it's sort of similar. I figured I should also just compare the two magnetics in this collection because they kind of seem similar at first glance, being in that purple, blue, pink color family. But again, Dusklit Water has that more reddy purple background base color with the aqua magnetic shimmer, while Sunset Reflections has more of that indigo base with a pink shimmer. So for Sunset Reflections, some other polishes immediately jump to mind, like ILNP's Flipside and Ethereal's Midsummer Eve. But once I pulled out Flipside, I immediately realized that it's a little too dusty in comparison to these other two, and I realized that I meant to pull out Mood Ring from ILNP. So that's what I have on my nail. It has that stronger kind of cobalt blue shimmer in the background, a little too overpowering. I would say Ethereal is definitely the closest, especially with that indigo base, and they all have a hot pink shimmer. Maybe Ethereal's base is a little bit more purple leaning. Next, for Blue Nympheas, I have a couple of Fauve tealy shades that I thought were kind of similar. So first I pulled out Midnight Over the Arles, which is a magnetic, but again, I just thought for color reference, it might be close. And then for the finish, it kind of reminded me of Over the Rhône, which has that intense jelly flaky balm. So I think Blue Nympheas is kind of an in-between of these two. Like the color is a little bit closer to Midnight Over the Arles, but I would say it is the most true teal shade, and also the most sheer looking with its very jelly base. And I have a couple of other teal jelly flaky balm polishes. So first I have Glitch's Medo from their Palestine collection on the left, and then Picture Polish's Ophelia on the right. Generally, I would say these two are closer to the Fauve, but they're not exact dupes either. The Picture Polish is definitely the darkest here, so you can see it's a little bit more opaque and just darker in color, while the Glitch has a much stronger and more overpowering rainbow in the flakies. Next, for Lotus Petals, I wanted to quickly show this next to Lotus Blossom, which is a previous Fauve pink. That one is a much lighter whitened pink color, more of a crelly finish as well, so definitely not dupes. I actually got the suggestion to show this one next to Psyche Minerals Whispering Waves, which was a previous polish pickup shade. I know in the bottle they definitely look very different because the Fauve just looks a bit darker overall from the base, while the Psyche is more sheer, but they do end up looking kind of similar depending on how many coats you do. So first here I'm showing one coat of each. You can see they're both kind of similar, but you get a little bit more of that warmer pink color in Fauve. But if you do 2 coats of the Psyche, I feel like it does look kind of similar. Again, it's not as warm in that pink undertone, but the flaky kind of shimmer finish is really close. But then once you do that second coat of the Fauve, it builds it up to be a little bit more in that crelly leaning family. So not exact dupes, but close vibes for sure. Moving on to Water Garden, I first pulled out Fauve's Thorn and Peacock Moth, which are some other greens that I thought were really similar in color to Water Garden. Finish-wise, though, they are a bit different. Peacock Moth is a magnetic, but it does have these blue iridescent flakies and a bit of a closer color, while Thorns is a darker color but has those reflective glitters. So I thought maybe layering Peacock Moth over Thorns would sort of recreate the vibe, but it did not work out at all. And I did also want to quickly show this next to Fauve's Evergreen Forest, which is another green flaky balm, but it's a darker green overall, and the flakies are more of a opaque metallic kind of finish as opposed to the iridescent ones in Water Garden. For some recent green flakies, I figured I could show it next to Goodnight Polish's Love's Expensive, Poison's Cheap, which has more orangey colored iridescent flakies, but a similar mossy green base. And I figured I could also show this next to Sylvanclaw's Ground Cover, which is a very sheer, more chartreusey yellow base with these golden iridescent flakies. So from the base color alone, Water Garden is closer to Goodnight Polish, but it's more of the true jelly version. And then for some Mooncat green jelly flakies, I have Hardcore Buttercup from the Powerpuff Girls collab on the left and Lava Lamp on the right. Unfortunately, both of these have been retired, and while they might sound similar on paper, being again these green jelly bases filled with iridescent flakes, they do look very different on the nail. They're all different shades of green, Water Garden again being the most mossy, having a slight yellow undertone, and it's also the most packed with the flakies as well. Next for Twilight Blooms, I thought Provocateur was going to be the closest when it came to a sparkly purple from Fauve. It's more of a glitter shimmer type of balm as opposed to a flaky balm, as you can see though, and it does have a more blue tone leaning color. I know there are some blue flakies in Twilight Blooms, but the base color is a little bit warmer, so it's just different overall. And when it comes to other purple jellies with iridescent flakies, I figured I could show the Holo Taco ones from the Off the Deep End collection. So I have Made Me Ink on the left, which is much more indigo leaning, and Don't Be Jelly on the right, which is a little warmer than what Twilight Blooms is. It's almost like that perfect in between, where the base is a little similar to Don't Be Jelly, but the flakies are more similar to Made Me Ink. And the last shade I have for reference for Twilight Blooms is Mooncat's Everybody Scream from their Nightmare Before Christmas collab. I thought the purple base in this was the closest, and it has that blue cobalt kind of shimmer, but it's a totally different finish. Lastly, for Pointillism, I wanted to show it next to my swatch stick of Butterfly Garden Morpho, which is the blue-green variety of Butterfly Garden. I would say it's the closest color-wise, at least, to Pointillism, but obviously not dupes. And surprisingly, I have a somewhat close glitter topper to Pointillism from Candied Apple Polish. It's called Oh to Be a Bird, and I would say it's most similar because of those teal, sky blue, and green glitters, but instead of the purple shades in Pointillism, there are more of these pinky shades in Candied Apple. The glitter sizes are also generally smaller in Fauve. I mean, there's some super large ones, but yeah, they're not dupes by any means, but kind of similar vibes. So that wraps up my swatches and comparisons of Fauve's Reflections of Monet collection. As I mentioned in the intro, the pre-order window is currently open for these until Wednesday, March 18th at 11 p.m. Eastern Time. And the important shop update that I mentioned in the intro as well is that starting on March 18th at 11 p.m., Fauve's shop will be closed until May 31st, which I know is kind of a long time, but Jess is going to be taking some time away to take care of some health concerns that she has. So yeah, make sure you leave some good vibes in the comments down below for Jess. But yeah, while it is a small pre-order window time, they will be restocked in the future when the shop opens back up again, along with some new releases as well. So there's definitely stuff to look forward to. And for any orders during this shop window, they should all ship by the end of this month. But yeah, I would love to know what you think of these, because as expected, I think they are so stunning. I am always so impressed with how well Jess can execute the polishes to match the inspirations. I especially love that this collection is more focused on Monet, because you might remember from last year's Impressionism collection, there were some polishes inspired by Monet, but as well as other artists. And I feel like generally last year's spring collection was much more shimmer focused, a lot more softer pastel colors. So it's nice that this is a much bolder, saturated kind of take color palette wise, not to mention very heavy on the jelly flaky bombs, which I think are very gorgeous. Like I said earlier in the video, Water Garden is definitely one of my top favorites from this lineup. And I know I initially talked about Lotus Petals because of course it's a pink and very pretty, but honestly now I think that I would say my top two are Water Garden and Pointillism. You probably know that I'm in my topper era doing my weekly topper series, and I just thought this one was so fun. I love the glitter mix, and I was just generally impressed or almost surprised with how much I liked it, because I usually don't love a super densely packed glitter topper, but I think because these had the generally smaller, or the majority of the glitters were a lot smaller, and the color palette was just super cute, I think it just worked really well altogether. Also, I want to apologize again for my sort of fail of a review when it came to the peel off base coat, because obviously I just didn't let it dry down long enough, not to mention having so many coats of these sort of thicker kind of formulas. It just was a disaster, and I apologize again for that. I was on a bit of a time crunch for this video because I wanted to get it up in time during the shop window before the shop is closed for 2 months, but obviously I had some other videos to prioritize when the Fauve shop opened up for this collection. So it was a little hectic, but you know, I did my best with what I could do. But yeah, I will be testing the peel off base coat again sometime in the near future. It's such a shame I forgot to test it for my current mani, because I have the flaky jelly kind of polish that I did. You probably saw it in my recent short video sharing Mooncat's sugar and spice topper, but I'll try to keep it in mind for my next topper mani, and especially if I use Pointillism in that, because that definitely would be a polish that I want to peel off. Something like an iridescent glitter I feel like is so much easier to remove. But yeah, that being said, I still had a decent first experience with the peel off base coat as far as like the initial application goes. I found that it was pretty similar, or at least more similar to the Unt Global base coat, which I don't think they make anymore, compared to something like Cirque's peel off base coat, which is the only other one that I've ever tried, and I did not like that one. I just found it to be even thinner, a lot runnier, almost just too watery for me, and it just took forever to dry. So at least when it came to this base coat drying down at a normal rate, that was okay. Anyway, sorry, I feel like I'm just kind of rambling now, but yeah, let me know what you think of these, if you did already grab these when the shop initially opened over the weekend, or if you plan on getting anything before the shop closes on Wednesday, or just let me know what your favorites were from here. I would love to know down below so we can chat about it. But thank you so much for hanging out with me today. I hope you have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!